Hey everyone! Today let's talk about the Khazars, a powerful but often overlooked empire from history. Instead of being just one group, the Khazar Empire was made up of different tribes, like the Oghurs, Onogurs, and Bulgars. These people were once part of an older alliance called the Tile, but they had to move west because of stronger enemies. By the 4th century CE, they had settled near the Volga River, the Caspian Sea, and the Black Sea. Some of them even came from Mongolia and South Siberia, creating their own kingdom after the Huns fell apart. The Khazar Empire was led by a royal family that might have come from the Ashina clan, the same group that ruled the Western Turkic Khaganate. Some historians debate this, but records from China and the Islamic world suggest there was a connection. One important leader, Yepeshekwi, helped the Khazars rise to power, but lost control around 651. As the Khazars moved west, they absorbed other steppe tribes, including the Akatsaroi, who had once fought alongside the Byzantine Empire against Attila the Hun. The Khazar state officially formed around 630, when the mighty Göktürk Khaganate started to weaken. The Göktürks had reached the Volga region by 549, pushing the Avars west into what is now Hungary. The Ashina clan had taken over the Ruran Khaganate in 552, and started building new territories. By 568, they even allied with the Byzantine Empire against Persia. But as time went on, conflicts within their leadership weakened them, allowing new states like Old Great Bulgaria and the growing Khazar Empire to rise. By the late 7th century, the Khazars had built their own kingdom, controlling land from the Volga to the Dnieper River. Around 670, they took over the Onogor-Bulagar Confederation and saw themselves as the rightful successors of the Göktürks. Some historians even call their rule the Pax Khazarica, because they kept order and protected trade routes. An 11th century Persian writer even ranked the Khazar ruler as one of the most powerful leaders in the world, alongside the emperors of Byzantium and China. One of the most interesting things about the Khazars was their government. They had two rulers, the Bek, who was in charge of the military and running the state, and the Khagan, or Khan, who played more of a religious and symbolic role. The Kakayan was seen as almost sacred and rarely appeared in public. Some sources say new Khagans had to go through a strange ritual where they were nearly strangled before taking the throne, and they only ruled for as long as they wanted, after which they were executed. The Bek, however, had to show deep respect by bowing and even walking barefoot when approaching the Khagan. The Khazars also had unique burial customs, hiding their rulers' graves so they wouldn't be disturbed. The Khazar rulers were a separate elite, similar to the later Mongol leaders of the Golden Horde. They married people from different backgrounds but stayed in power through a strong personal guard, often recruited from the Khwarezmians. Their army was well organized, with 7,000 to 12,000 regular soldiers. But in times of war, they could call upon up to 100,000 troops, including their allies. Khazar warriors were known for their strict discipline. Retreating was not an option. If a soldier lost a battle and returned home, they were executed. Khazaria was one of the most diverse empires of its time, with at least 25 different ethnic groups living there. Some sources mention white Khazars and black Khazars, but this likely referred to social or political groups, not race. Early Muslim travelers described them as having light skin, blue eyes, and reddish hair, while others compared them to Central Asian people. Archaeologists have found remains showing a mix of European and Mongolic features. The Khazars were a major economic power, controlling trade between Europe and the Middle East. Their empire sat on important trade routes, and they made money by taxing merchants. Unlike most nomadic empires, they also developed farming alongside trade. However, they played a controversial role in the medieval slave trade, capturing and selling Slavic and other northern peoples to Muslim markets. Their capital, Atil, had two main sections, one for the ruling Khazars and another for the mix of Jews, Christians, Muslims, and traders who lived there. One of the most important trade routes in the medieval world ran through Khazaria, connecting Viking traders from Scandinavia to the Islamic world. Slaves captured during Viking raids in Ireland and Eastern Europe were taken through Khazar lands and sold in Abbasid markets. In return, the Khazars received silver, silk, and luxury goods, which made them very wealthy. But over time, new trade routes through Volga, Bulgaria, and Khorazm weakened their control and hurt their economy. The Khazar rulers spent winters in Atil, but moved to their countryside estates in warmer months. The land around them was well irrigated and fertile, allowing strong agriculture. Taxes were collected in many forms, including animal hides, honey, wax, and livestock. Trade disputes were settled in Atil by a council of judges from Jewish, Muslim, and Christian backgrounds, ensuring fairness for all merchants. And Byzantine Empire had a smart way of dealing with the warrior tribes from the steppes. They made different groups fight each other so they wouldn't have to face them all at once. One of these groups, the Pechenegs, became important allies in the 9th century. The Byzantines paid them to provide military support. They also made alliances with other steppe groups, like the Gökturks. In the early 600s, they teamed up with the Western Turks to fight the Persian Empire, helping them in a long war from 602 to 628. The Khazars, whom the Byzantines called Turks, were also a key part of this strategy. In 626, when the Persians and their allies attacked Constantinople, Emperor Heraclius asked the Western Turkic leader Tong Yabu Khagan for help. Heraclius sent gifts and even offered his daughter, Epiphania, in marriage to secure the alliance. The combined Byzantine-Turkic forces then attacked Persia, dealing a huge blow to the already struggling empire. By the 7th century, the Khazars became a major power, and the Byzantines saw them as valuable allies. They made both military and marriage alliances with them. In 695, Emperor Justinian II, who had been exiled, found safety with the Khazars. Their ruler, Basur Glavan, even arranged a marriage between Justinian and his sister Theodora. However, a rival emperor, Tiberius III, tried to bribe Basur to betray Justinian. Theodora warned her husband just in time, and he escaped. Later, he took back the Byzantine throne with help from the Bulgarians and made Theodora empress, showing how important the Khazars were. Another major alliance happened when Emperor Leo III arranged a marriage between his son, Constantine V, and a Khazar princess named Tsitsak in 732. She converted to Christianity and took the name Irene. Their son, Leo IV, was even nicknamed the Khazar. The Khazars remained powerful and controlled Crimea until the 10th century. Some even served in the Byzantine Imperial Guard, an elite military unit. Meanwhile, the Khazars fought many battles against the Muslim empires. The First Arab-Khazar War started when the Muslim Umayyad Caliphate expanded north. By 640, they had reached Armenia, and in 652, they tried to capture Balanjar, the Khazar capital. The Khazars fought fiercely, and both sides even used catapults. Though the Arab expansion slowed because of civil wars, fighting resumed in the early 700s. The Second Arab-Khazar War saw major battles, including a huge Khazar raid into Armenia in 722, where 30,000 warriors caused massive destruction. The Arabs responded by attacking Balanjar again, this time destroying the city. In the 730s, the Khazars fought back under a leader named Barjik. They invaded northern Iran and killed an Arab general in battle. However, in 731, Barjik was defeated and killed at Mosul, where he reportedly sat on a throne made from the severed head of his enemy. The final Arab campaign against the Khazars happened in 737, when an Arab general, Marwan ibn Muhammad, tricked the Khazars by pretending to make peace. He then launched a surprise attack, forcing their ruler to flee. The Khazars had to submit and even agreed to convert to Islam, but this didn't last long. Soon, the Umayyad Caliphate faced internal struggles, and the Byzantines helped the Khazars regain independence. Some historians believe this is when the Khazars later chose Judaism as their official religion. strengthening their position between the Christian and Muslim empires. Although Arab forces weakened Khazar power in the Caucasus, they never fully controlled the region. Fighting continued until the Abbasid Revolution in 750, which shifted power in the Muslim world. In 758, the Abbasid Caliph al-Mansur tried to build better relations with the Khazars by arranging a marriage between a nobleman and a Khazar princess. But when she died under mysterious circumstances, her father was furious. The Khazars responded by attacking cities in the Caucasus, including Tiflis. Tensions between the Khazars and Abbasids remained high, and another failed marriage alliance in 799 led to more fighting. Meanwhile, new challenges emerged. In the early 800s, the Khazars lost control over some of their lands. Around 830, three Khazar tribes, known as the Khazars, left and joined the Hungarians, who were moving west. This marked the beginning of a new era, as the Hungarians settled in the Carpathian Basin and eventually became a major force in medieval Europe. As the Khazar Khaganate weakened, the Rus grew stronger and took control of important trade routes inland. In the late 9th century, Oleg of Novgorod took over Kiev, making it the center of Rus's power. The Khazars, who had once controlled trade and military alliances in the region, now faced threats from all sides. During the early 10th century, relations between the Khazars and the Rusi shifted between brief alliances and open conflicts. The Rus had previously relied on the Khazars to travel along the Volga River for trade and raids, often giving them a share of their loot. However, when the Khazars blocked their access, tensions rose. The Rus, now confident in their strength, launched attacks on Khazar lands, weakening their influence even further. By the mid-10th century, the Khazars were struggling both economically and militarily. Trade patterns changed, and the Volga Bulgarians took over much of the business that once made the Khazars wealthy. At the same time, the Byzantines and Pechenegs added to the instability in the region. The Khazars, once a powerful force keeping other groups in check, now found themselves surrounded by enemies and losing ground. In the 960s, Sviatoslav I of Kiev led a major attack against the Khazars. His army moved quickly, destroying key Khazar fortresses like Sarkel. They also sacked Atil, the Khazar capital, burning buildings and scattering the population. Records from the time describe the land as devastated, with its once busy trade centers left abandoned. After the fall of Khazaria, its former lands were taken over by new rising powers. Some Khazars may have joined other groups like the Rus, Pechenegs, and Kipchaks, while others, especially Jewish Khazars, may have moved westward and settled in Eastern and Central Europe. The Khazars were still mentioned in Byzantine and Islamic writings for a while, but as a political power, they had disappeared. Despite their fall, the Khazars left a lasting impact on the region. Their influence on trade and government helped shape the growing Rusi state. Some of their military and political traditions were adopted by the groups that followed. In Hungary, for example, some elements of Khazar rule could still be seen in early Magyar leadership and military systems. By the 11th and 12th centuries, the Khazars were only mentioned occasionally in historical records. Some small groups may have lived in the Caucasus and along the lower Volga, while others may have kept trade networks running across the Black Sea and Mediterranean.